What's up, everybody, and welcome back to part 3. Epos and I apologize for the delay. The holidays took their toll, man. We did a little bit of a break. We hung out with the family, but we're back today to talk about growing your channel. I think the main things we're covering today is what's critical from going from 0 subs to 100 subs and then 1,000 subscribers. What big strategical things can you implement into your channel to help give you an edge above other people just starting out their gaming channels? And what have we learned along the way from, 0 to 50,000 subscribers-ish that we would share with our younger selves to try and expedite or speed up the process? So what's up, Epos? How you doing, man?
Doing all right. I also had my butt kicked by the holidays, but I'm glad to be back. Been doing a lot of new videos and stoked to get back to this.
Yeah, getting back in a rhythm is really important. So let's not waste time. What is the most important thing? If we were to start our channels all over again, what would be the standout element or strategy that we would implement to get our first 100 subs? What is like the key that you would take away?
Focus your content. You don't even necessarily have to stick with the same idea. Like if you're still experimenting within your first 100 subscribers or even first 1,000 subscribers, you don't necessarily have to stick with the same thing if you find out it doesn't work out, but focus your content to one style, to one show, to one concept that you can stand behind and continue to produce over time. That's something that I see with a lot of small channels I work with, and even if I go back and look at my old gaming channel, which is my older channel, and look at the start of the videos, all of the videos are random video or, random gameplay commentary just because I felt like it, or Epos does a thing, except I wasn't Epos back then, but you get the idea. It's just like, hey, I did a thing, watch my video, and you can't build subscribers off of, hey, I just made videos for fun, unless you have something unique. There's always exceptions to the rules, but just randomly making videos that you just come up with every once in a while doesn't really drive fast growth to a channel.
Right, so here's an example. If I were going to start out again, I would pick a single game and I would pick a single style of content for that game. In the case of my channel, I do tip videos for FPS games, but I narrow it down further. I do tip videos for Destiny, or I did it for Halo 5, or I'm doing it for a very specific game. And when you just start out, I think everybody has this notion that, hey, I want to upload lots of different games, because let's face it, we're gamers. We don't all just play one singular game. But when you first start out, you really need to identify a target demographic and narrow it down very, very precisely to where it's a subset of a particular viewer. So for Destiny, I'm not just looking for a Destiny player, I'm looking for a PvP Destiny player who's looking to improve, and my videos are going to try and help provide that to them. Doesn't mean that you can't branch out and do other games when your channel grows over time, but figuring out that target demographic that you want to go after, narrowing it down, and then maintaining videos that always deliver to them that value. I think the second thing that is super important that new creators blow off for years is a schedule, right?
Absolutely. Oh, the schedule is the most important thing that even I just kind of looked at and never took seriously. I was like, I can't stick to a schedule. I don't want to stick to a schedule. Why bother? But if viewers know that they can come back on X, Y, and Z day every week or, once a week and get a show, and again, if it's already focused and there's a reason to come back to it versus just random videos, then it seems so abstract, but it really does build the reliability of your subscribers coming back. And when you're in that first hump you're getting over with growing your channel before you really get into the search algorithms and all of that, you need people coming back regularly. And this is something that held me back for pretty much the first couple years of YouTubing.
Yeah, but schedule was the number one thing that transformed my channel. A couple years ago, I was around 9,000 subscribers, and when the Master Chief Collection came out, I said, I'm going to upload 3 videos a week, period. And I stuck to that schedule, and I've had 3 videos on the channel every single week, and it transformed not only just your view count, but also your workflow. When new creators come into the scene, they kind of have this analysis paralysis where they spend so much time trying to make that one video perfect that they spend, let's say, 6 or 7 days on it, right? They don't have an end timer. Whereas a schedule forces you to be creative and create something under a time limit, and when you've reached the end point, it's done. You can't add more to it. You're going to have to learn and improve in the next upload. You know what I mean?
I like that word, analysis paralysis. But it's much more important to your overall growth, both as a YouTuber, an editor, and so on, to be able to improve your content over time, not just sit there on the same video for days on end until it's perfect, because no matter what, that one video isn't going to be the perfect manifestation of your idea that you had for it. But when you're making 100 videos of it, by the 100th video, you're going to look back at the first one and probably cringe pretty hard. And that's a good thing because that means you have improved. And YouTube is a thing of the long haul and the grind, so you are going to need at least 100 videos to even like get started. So
totally. I was going to say there too, a lot of creators get really disappointed when, like, let's say they put so much time and effort into this one video. It's the greatest thing they've ever made, and then it doesn't perform overly well. And they're like, what the heck, man? Why did this video do not better than the rest? I put way more time and effort into it. Well, if you're on a schedule, that can prevent you from entering the negative headspace of like, I really had hoped this video was going to catch fire and it didn't. Oh well, I'm going to create another video that needs to go up on Tuesday. So create a schedule, identify a target demographic, and when we're talking about gaming channels, I really think sticking with a single game or a single style of content is really important. If you want to try variety from the start, doing all sorts of games, you better have the most magnetic personality that draws people in, because it's extremely hard to grow if you're just doing whatever you feel like. You want to communicate to the viewer clearly, what is this channel and what is this channel about? And that leads right into the branding, you know, your profile picture, the banner, your channel name choice, the social media choice stuff. So let's just dive right into it and talk about picking a channel name, Epos. Now, YouTube isn't the way that it was a few years ago. Now you need 500 subscribers, right, before you can get a custom URL.
Actually, they dropped it to 100, and if you have a website, you can integrate with that and get it immediately too.
Right
but
on.
it's still you need that 100 subs or to already have a website, in which case you should already have a name anyway.
If you were to pick a name, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but if you were to pick a name, how would you give tips on it? Phonetically easy is what I think is important.
Absolutely. Avoid numbers and symbols and hashtags and all that stuff like the plague, because people can't remember that. They can't remember that well. You don't see like a company name that's like a mainstream pop culture, you know, style company or something like that with like that many numbers or symbols in their name. I mean, there's like Rue 21 or some crap, but for the most part, it's a single word or a single phrase, easy to remember, phonetically easy to like pronounce, and does not, for YouTube channels, do not include, unless you are absolutely certain about being like stuck in it like a jail, do not include a game name or a product name in your name. And definitely don't include someone else's character name. Like, don't name yourself Master Chief 5, because that's not going to go over so well in the long run. But don't
and you're
give yourself...
get lost in the search results too.
Right. Absolutely. And don't like lock yourself into that one game, because if you do decide to change things later, someone's going to go to, like, I see this all the time, like Fallout Player 20 is doing Minecraft Let's Plays, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah, Husky StarCraft. There's a lot of StarCraft 2 guys who put that in their name, and it's like, well, now you're not playing that game, so...
Right, and it creates a serious, like, dissonance with the viewer when they see that name, and that's not what you're doing, and it just creates so many problems. On top of the fact, you can never really like copyright or trademark your name with someone else's trademark name in your name.
Yeah, good luck doing that. I'm Halo Man 2694. That's not gonna really work. When I talk about branding, when I land on a page, I really want to see brand unity. I want to see the profile picture match the banner, and I want to see the art match the thumbnails as well, so it looks like one cohesive unit. The About section of your channel is extremely overlooked. When a new person starts a channel, you can go and look at the About, and it's just a mess. 90% of the time, the About section is a total train wreck where it doesn't say what they do. Hi, subscribe to me. No, you have a few sentences that you can communicate with people. Hi, here is my channel. These are the games or the types of videos I upload, and you can find these uploads on these dates. Below are my social medias if you have any questions, blah, blah, blah. Or a good place to throw frequently asked questions, right?
Don't ask for subscribers. Don't put your subscriber or like milestones. Like, all of that looks super cheesy and wastes valuable space, because the About section is part of the SEO for your channel, the search engine optimization of how people find you. And so the more you explain about your channel in cohesive sentences, not just blocks of tags, the easier like your channel will integrate into the overall content sphere that you're in. Also, don't put links in that About section directly, because they're not clickable to anyone. Like, it's so obnoxious when you have the links section at the bottom where you can put your Twitter and your YouTube and stuff, and people type out the links in the About section and expect people to like copy paste it when there's a link section right there. But just don't do it, please.
Yeah, don't miss out on this opportunity too for that extra discoverability. So let's talk then about thumbnails, something that took me a really long time to learn. And we talked about GIMP and Photoshop and different programs that you can use in part 2 if you guys want to go back to that. But it took me a long time to learn that if I had consistent text styles or consistent thumbnail styles, I saw increased viewership on certain series, right? So if you look at my channel, Almost all of my text is the same color yellow, it's the same font style, and the arrangement is fairly similar, and that creates this recognizability in the viewer or the subscriber that they see it, they automatically think, okay, that's BBK, or like when an Epos thumbnail comes up, I see it, okay, I know what that is, and I recognize it immediately with the channel. When people start out, you can look at their thumbnails and it's just like a Picasso artboard. It's like they've tried everything under the sun. It's better to stick with the similar style or colors or some sort of recognizable branding than it is to try everything under the sun over and over again. When you make a shift in your style of thumbnails, make it consistent and start changing all your thumbnails to that new text or color of text, right?
Yes, and one note that I just want everyone who's starting out with it, especially if you haven't like become a Photoshop master or something, simplicity is king. I see so many people who, you know, they understand the principles, you know, they hear, okay, you need to make custom thumbnails, you need to have certain text or something like that, but they're using, you know, either they're not experienced with the editor that they're using, or they're using something like MS Paint, which can be okay, but then they just have all this obnoxious text over their screen because they're trying to like do the things that we tell them to do, but you know, it's overdone and it just looks really, really bad. Whereas just a really good, you know, a creative screenshot, like Halo screenshots used to be the coolest things in the world on like the Halo 3 days. So many creative things. A super creative screenshot approach could be all you need, or like one word to go with your title to start out. Like super simplistic versus messy and complicated, it's gonna do you better. Just try not to overcomplicate it.
You can put the details and the extra keywords in the title as long as it makes sense, but sometimes when it's a nice clean thumbnail, I'm more akin to click on that. Like you said, those Halo screenshots, if you guys are Halo YouTubers, hop in the theater mode. You can take some incredible screenshots that are totally unique to you, and people are going to see that and go, wow, I wonder what that is. Boom. That's that kind of sentiment you want to create. Optimal upload times, Epos. This is going to depend probably on the target demographic. So let's say you're creating Minecraft content. That is a younger audience that's probably going to be in school between the hours of like 8 and 3 o'clock. So you need to keep that in your mind. Whereas if you're somebody who's uploading for a demographic between the ages of like 19 and 29, they're probably going to be up a little bit later than the younger demographic. So what is a good way to start figuring out the best time for you to upload?
Well, considering your demographic in the first place is like key. Like if you can picture who you expect your average viewer to be based on the show you're creating, and when you in that person's shoes would watch the video, kind of aim for that, because there is no, like we're going to mention a tool in just a second, but there is no magic when do my viewers watch button. Like it just, YouTube tracks so much data, but they just don't track that for whatever reason, mainly because there's people watching videos every hour of every day. So there's not a huge balance there. Figuring out your target demographic, putting yourselves in their shoes and thinking about when they're going to be watching the videos, and even keep in mind like time zones. Like just because it's right after school, like don't release it immediately after school gets out in Eastern time, because the rest of, like if we're talking about the US, the rest of the US hasn't gotten out of school yet. If you're a European creator, but you've been uploading for a while and you can actually go to your analytics and look at where your viewers are from, if most of your viewers are still from the Americas, then you should alter your like schedule time for where your viewers are. And you can see that in analytics. I'll have some screenshots up on the screen. Fairly straightforward. There's also another tool called TubeBuddy that can actually show us the general average of when your viewers are watching your videos.
That's a great tool, by the way. TubeBuddy is a subscription tool that you can get for an add-on on Chrome, and it's got tons of useful features. I don't know if I would have invested in the subscription for TubeBuddy when I just started my channel, but absolutely, like if I'm past 100 subscribers, I think TubeBuddy is a great way for you to start understanding, hey, optimizing tags, optimizing all sorts of stuff in my description, and there's just cool tools to help you stay on top of the various different elements of gaining discoverability on YouTube. Why don't we talk then about a schedule, since we're talking about upload times. We mentioned the importance of a schedule. When somebody is just starting, picking something that's realistic for you is important. Don't create a schedule that you can't stick to. If you can only upload twice a month, that's fine, but communicate that with your viewers and stick to it. If you can upload 4 times a week, great, but stick to it and don't compromise. Set something that works realistically for you. What do you think, Epos?
I'm just going to continue to pull these out, I guess, because it's interesting to look back at them as we talk about this. One of my biggest mistakes, or at least annoyances for myself, whenever I was in the like early growing periods of my time on YouTube, was I promised a schedule that I could never keep. And then every time I changed it, I did the exact same thing. And like, I suggest creating a schedule and sticking with it and making sure that schedule works before you like make a channel update promising that schedule. Make sure that it is realistic for you. And now if, you know, a personal event comes up or something that makes you miss a day, don't let that discourage you from sticking to the whole schedule. But as long as you can generally maintain it, that's when you should really solidify it, throw it in your about section, talk about it in your next channel update, or like at the end of your video, hey, subscribe, I got new videos on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever like that. My problem was I would always be like, okay, what's a good schedule? 3 days a week. Okay, so I'm going to have Minecraft Mondays, some wacky Wednesdays, and something Friday. And then before I even like dared make one of those videos, I'd just be like, channel update, hey guys, I'm going to be uploading this, this, and this. And then I never like made it past one video. And the subscribers are like, what did you do?
I turn off the channel updates so often unless the creator is like really earned it, and I say that as kindly as I can, but a lot of times newer YouTubers like, I'm deeply sorry you guys, but like you said, for the 3rd time in a row, I've changed my schedule. That wears and tears on a viewer really quick. Most of the time, you just want to deliver what they're there for. If I'm here to see your really funny Minecraft videos, that's what I'm there to see, not to hear about your planning the schedule or planning out your goals. Speaking of goals, it's really important to set goals when you start YouTubing. All throughout your entire YouTube time, you should have a long-term, a mid-term, and a short-term goal set down. What should those goals look like, though?
They should look like they should be goals for what kind of content you create, how much you create of it, and what point in the future you want to be, not subscribers. It shouldn't necessarily be numbers. It should be, I want to, like, say you're doing you're doing like a series on tips, like, we'll just use BBK as an example. Say you're doing a PvP tips series. In theory, since that's going to be like a core show focus, you shouldn't only have 1 or 2 ideas for videos for that, because otherwise you're going to upload 2 and then be like, well, what do I make now? It should be have the entire like 3 months of this expansion covered with tips on primary weapons, secondary weapons, map control, you know, have like a list planned out and upload 100 videos of Destiny content, upload tips, you know, if you have a whole list, upload all of these Destiny tip videos on a consistent schedule, or be to a point where, you know, your videos are short and consistent and you're happy with them. Or, you know, think about what your ideal video looks like what your, if you were the ultimate master of YouTube creation, what would your best video look like? Set that as your end goal for, say, a year.
Totally. And I also think, too, when you try and set the subscriber count and goals, you're going to be ultimately let down, because there are sometimes like videos that trend well and some that don't. There's a lot of times, like each year I can look back and there's 2 or 3 videos that popped off in SEO huge for me that I had no idea were going to get those kind of views and can accelerate growth dramatically. And then there's other times where I make videos really hoping these things are going to rank well and show up in recommended videos that never do. That's why you don't want to make that your end goal, because you just throw the balls and you hope they land where you want them to. Sometimes they will and sometimes they won't, but maybe at the end of the year you look back and said, wow, I have improved my quality month after month and my videos are way better. Or I sound a lot smoother on the microphone. I don't say or and do the interjectory statements in between words anymore. I'm really proud of that. Why don't we talk about collaborations, however, because this can be a big part of helping accelerate that growth, especially for smaller channels. But how and who you approach is pretty important.
You notice that this is a collaboration right now. Take a look at our subscriber accounts, and we're almost exactly the same. Like, we've been pretty neck and neck in subscriber counts for the past year or so. And that's been pretty cool as like a team to see and watch, you know, as friends to see that. But we're not reaching out to the 5 million subscriber channels or the 2 million, you know, I'm not tweeting at CNAN or saying, please star in my video, and then getting mad when he doesn't respond because he's too busy to respond to every single person that, you know, wants him to be in a video. It's all about working with people. Not sub count isn't super important with it, but at the same time, people around your sub count in similar niches are going to be most likely the easiest way to identify who you should work with, because it's less about direct numbers. It's less about subscribers. Like, you could get more out of a collaboration with someone with 1,000 subscribers than you could with someone with 100,000 subscribers, where those subscribers don't give a crap about your content. It's about finding people who are interested in the same kinds of content where you can offer something different and those people haven't already heard of your channel. And the big thing about reaching out for collaborations is you need to have some idea planned in the first place that is beneficial to both channels to work together on, not just let's do a random video together. It's like, hey, I'm doing this show, this, I need this guest spots filled. This, YouTuber A is an expert in this field. Let's see if they will do that. I actually did a similar video and got someone who works for, it's not a solo person channel, but who works for a 500,000 plus subscriber channel to star in what, well, not star, but to be in one of my videos as a collaboration. It didn't blow up my channel, but it offered that unique perspective of someone who it was a video about like the technology we take with us or the technology we can't live without. And, he's very smart in the smartphone segment, and I hadn't had anyone who contributed a video about a smartphone yet. So I contacted them, list of people in the collaboration, list of what I wanted from the collaboration. He said absolutely, gave him a week, shot the video, sent it to me, and boom. And I think he even tweeted it out. But having that concise plan ahead of time made everything so much easier. It's so much easier to just send an email and be like, hey, can you send me this? And them send it back than require 2 months of trying to figure out what you're doing in the first place.
Yeah, figure out your pitch before you actually approach people. That is one of the biggest turnoffs, because I will happily work with channels, and I've done so before, that are pretty different channel size. If they come with an idea ready to go that's polished, you can tell they put effort into it. The huge turnoff is hey man, you want to do something? And you're like, what'd you have in mind? I don't know. Well, okay then. Glad to see you put a lot of time and effort into this. Even though that it didn't turn into a big blow up opportunity for your channel, that's a networking opportunity. And in the future, he's going to remember who you are and maybe use you or keep you in mind for a project that happens in the future.
Absolutely.
We have to move on then to shoutouts, because this is one of those things that newer channels think has the opportunity to blow them up. And it just doesn't, dude. The truth about shoutouts is I've never found them to be an effective way of growing somebody else's channel or getting growth to you. Generally, if you get a big shout out from somebody, let's say 5 times your channel size, maybe you get 30, 40 subs who come over. However, generally these are subs that don't stay active and aren't very engaged with you because they didn't organically discover you. They were sort of just shoveled on, right?
It's so common. And we thought it kind of died out for a while, because this was how the YouTube worked in 2009, 2010, 2011 it was all about shoutouts and what we called back then, although no one uses that term very often anymore, but dual commentaries, because at the time it was very unique for 2 people to be in one video. But it was super common, and that's what people still go for the same idea, but they'll tweet a video at their favorite YouTuber and be like, please retweet this. What will that honestly get you? And if that doesn't ring a whole lot of bells for you, because at the time that kind of advice wouldn't have for me. In my honest opinion, if you haven't put in at least 1 year worth of work on your YouTube channel, you should not be aiming for any big channel to even try to support your channel in the first place. Because in a year from now, you're going to be embarrassed by the content you created, and you're going to regret that being your one opportunity for exposure when you weren't ready yet. You don't go try to, perform on stage in front of millions of people if you haven't even learned how to play guitar yet. Same thing with YouTube. I'll use this anecdotal evidence that I always bring up when I have the opportunity. When I was first starting YouTube, first getting into the YouTube gaming scene, summer 2011, I was doing Call of Duty videos and some Halo and just a variety of things, but I met, through weird coincidences, a really big YouTuber at the time, Vicstar123. I'll even link the video is still online, so I'll link it. We talked for a bit, and I got him to do a dual commentary on his channel with me. We recorded it, I edited it, we put it online. I got my first 1,000 subscribers from that. My videos were crap. Some people stayed anyway. I stopped making Call of Duty videos, and then I had 1,000 subscribers and got 10 views per video, and those subscribers never came back.
Because they weren't organically connected to you.
Right. They subscribed because their favorite YouTuber told them to, and then they never watched a video.
Yeah. So shoutouts, don't look for them. Look for collaboration opportunities to where you can do something creative with somebody that you admire or want to work with. Partnership. So partnership used to be a way bigger deal a long time ago in the YouTube space. This was something everybody hoped to get so that they could start to monetize their content. That all changed years ago. So should gamers still seek partnership? Should they want to be with an MCN? What is an MCN? And this is really Epos's field of experience. And both of us are partnered, by the way. We've been partnered for years. So let's talk about this.
Full disclaimer, I do work for an MCN called Freedom. I don't directly promote or advertise them, so I'm not going to directly try to sway you that because I just work for them. I won't even post like an affiliate link, but that's important to disclose. It's kind of like a sponsorship, I guess. But it's always a tough situation because I honestly, like there's the mentality, because it's been so long in YouTube's history, that you need to get in a YouTube partnership to get paid. But I honestly don't recommend it unless you're close to about 5,000 subscribers and 10,000 views per month. Otherwise, you're not actually making any money. Like the AdSense has the $100 per month threshold because that's like all that's considered like a decent amount of money for them to even be worth paying the fees to send you the money in the first place. And so, yes, if you partner with an MCN, which is a multi-channel network, it's basically a company that has the financial backing to pay you early because otherwise you don't get paid before the $100. They basically take all your money from AdSense, filter it out, take 40 to 20% or 20 to 40% of that revenue to give you things like audio libraries, royalty-free music like we talked about in the previous video, or training programs if they're a good network, or they just have like a support ticket system and call it a day. And then they pay you the other 40% of the revenue or 60% or what have you. And that's pretty much it. Like they're a company that basically filters your money, gives it back to you, but keeps some of it in exchange for services. This can be extremely helpful if it's a really good network or you're in the right situation, or like frankly, the vast majority of small channels, you could be with them for like 2 years, realize they did nothing for you, and cost you half of your revenue. If you have not reached, subscriber numbers are arbitrary, but if you have not reached 5,000 subscribers, 10,000 views, and so on, please don't partner with a network. You're nickel and diming some change that may buy you like half a game at some point, which is cool. Like if you need it that badly, whatever. But otherwise, you're not making significant enough money to allow money to influence your content. And that is a serious paradigm shift in how YouTube has run for the past couple years that drives me insane. If YouTube MCMs are no longer needed to make money, YouTube allows you to monetize directly. You can just keep saving up that AdSense money until you hit that $100 mark. And then it's so rewarding. Like I was with AdSense before I was with the network, and it's so rewarding to hit that mark and finally get paid. So that's a much bigger reward than, oh, hey, I got $2 from PayPal this month. Yay. Like that, it's not worth it. And B, you're trading half of your revenue for services that most of you are never going to know about or use because MCNs don't do a great job of communicating that. There's lots of networks out there, and if you want to be with one, do your research. I recommend Curse pretty much the most. If you're a big channel, you can sign with some of the big networks. The big three or big four are like Machinima, Maker Studios, and Broadband TV and Full Screen. Those are the big ones which have the most corporate backing. They're makers owned by Disney. Like it's pretty crazy. And so they will offer you the most protection legally. Like if you're doing very controversial content, they might be able to offer you some legal protection. But on the whole, you're signing away your channel for no reason. Speaking of which, it's 2017. There is no reason to have multi-year contracts or even a year or longer contract. Do not sign a single contract that is longer than 1 year. Aim for at least a 60-40 split or higher. Curse offers you 90% off out of the park, but then other networks will try to keep you at 60. Just do your research, read the contract. So many people sign the contract, get in a network, and then realize that they signed away their entire channel for 10 years and freak out. Read every detail and do research before you agree to anything. And lastly, any email you get trying to recruit you to a network, delete it and don't even consider it. What if they're reaching out to try to recruit you for a network? They probably don't even necessarily work for that network. Their job is literally to recruit people via an affiliate link so they can make money off of you joining the network, and they're going to tell you whatever you want to hear about how they're going to help your channel in order to get you to sign. Just delete those emails, do your own research, and reach out to the networks yourselves.
I think there's one element of partnership that is important for gaming channels to consider, and that is copyright protection. If you guys do end up getting a copyright strike, and Epos, you're going to have to help me with this because I've never experienced it, but I do know MCNs can sometimes be instrumental and helpful with removing strikes that were placed illegitimately or helping resolve those kind of situations. Now, granted, the user has to be smart about copyright. If you guys are blatantly monetizing stuff that you don't own, that's your own fault. But let's say you're following copyright and something bad happens to one of your videos. If it's the right MCN, they can help out on the back end. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a tough call because there's some factors at play. A, you have to have a history of not abusing copyright or not having a bunch of random claims and stuff because you played it fast and loose with copyright in the first place. And B, you just kind of have to be lucky enough to not fall through the cracks in the first place. I my old gaming channel was targeted by a lot of false flags on content. I had a lot of Let's Play episodes taken down for violating community guidelines, even though they never did, and I could not get full screen to do anything about it or even like respond to me. About 2 years later, the entire channel got taken down because like 5 videos at once randomly got striked for violating, you know, copyright and community guidelines, which none of it were true. I sent them an email, and within 5 minutes, they got it back up. I don't know what changed between
them being full screen or YouTube.
Yes, full screen.
Full screen. Okay.
And so in that instance, the network not only, you know, was useful, but essentially saved my channel. That being said, for the first 2 years of those videos getting taken down one by one, they never said a word. However, it's worth noting, and this is still young in its development, but YouTube has made a change. They're cracking down on MCNs, and they have actually offered, once you hit certain subscriber tiers, I'll post a link to the program website because I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but they are offering support email contacts for YouTubers directly with YouTube. Now, they're not going to answer super basic questions, and the more you pester them, the less likely they are to respond. But if you have emergencies, once you get to like 1,000 subscribers or something, you will have a contact at YouTube that if there is an emergency, they can try to point you in the right direction, which is
huge.
Very important. Yes.
Yeah, that's a huge step compared to where it was a few years ago. Yeah, don't do lock-in contracts, and if you have to do it, nothing more than a year. I didn't disclose at the beginning. I'm a Machinima partner. I've been with Machinima, I think, since 2012. Can't really talk about any of the specifics of contract stuff or whatever, but I can just say that I kind of like that security epos where if something were to happen, I would have someone I could at least communicate with over at Machinima. And they've been very communicative with me. Anytime I've reached out for help from them, they've responded in a really quick time, or at least what I think is a professional time frame, and been able to address my concerns. But it really doesn't matter when you're starting out. It's like you said, partnership before 5,000 just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to your focus shouldn't be on making money, and this used to be like what every YouTuber tried to preach back in the day as they were signing up for networks themselves, but it comes down to focus on making your content great, and then look to monetize it once you actually have a viewership, because that will be, it will just do so much better for you, your mentality, and your channel, versus chasing like adding an extra $1 to your PayPal like payment every month. So definitely be careful.
If we were to wrap up and surmise, what would be your takeaway points, just in a real brief closing statement?
Figure out a target focus, show or concept or specific game you're going to focus on. Develop your channel branding and art and channel name around that. Be as consistent and as clear to the viewer what you're doing as possible. Set a set schedule, stick with that as well. Consistency is going to come up with in like every element we talk about with YouTube. So consistency in branding, consistency in schedule and uploading. Collaborate with other YouTubers around you, but don't shoot for the stars and then be sad when the stars don't notice you. Don't worry about shoutouts, and just be careful with the network situation, and frankly, otherwise just don't even worry about it in the first place.
I would say be mentally strong. Don't set unrealistic goals. Persevere and continue to do this. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint. Anybody can create YouTube content, and if you are a dedicated person who is absolutely open to learning and improving, guaranteed you can grow a channel and you can grow your content. So that's going to do it, I think, for part 3. We maybe have plans for a part 4. We're going to think about a couple more topics, and maybe you guys will see that over on my channel here pretty soon. If you have any questions, feel free to ask us down in the comments section below. We really do appreciate the support on this series. It was far and away a lot bigger than we expected it to be, and we just appreciate that you guys wanted to listen to us. We don't have all the answers. We're still learning. I mean, I hope we didn't come across arrogant at all in this. It's just kind of sharing the stuff we've learned during part of our journey, and there's a heck of a lot more to learn as we keep going, you know?
Yeah, this was as much a letter to my younger self as tips for you guys, so.
Well, very good. Thanks, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.